Hello and welcome to the second season of the Blake Talks Good podcast. I'm your host, Blake Jennings, and I say second season because in podcast world, season can mean anything that you want it to mean. I've taken a couple months off to reload with fresh ideas of episodes for this podcast. So I've got the next 8 to 10 in mind. I'm excited to share them with you. In this first episode of the second season, I want to talk about something that could ruffle some feathers. I want to talk about why I no longer like the concept of calling. And by that, I mean this idea that an individual, man or woman, is called by God in some special way out of the whole pool of humanity into Christian ministry as a vocation. So to be a minister or a pastor, an elder or a deacon in church world or seminary world or ministry world, we often talk about this as somebody receiving their calling. When did you get your calling to be a pastor? There's whole books written on this, discerning your call to ministry. So this idea that the call, it's like this sacred thing, is some special election by God of this individual person to be this special thing for the rest of his or her life. It's a huge thing, and it often is accompanied by a special ceremony by the church or by the ministry. It might be ordaining this person or laying their hands on them, commissioning them, something like that. And I want to be clear, I am not opposed to this overall practice, to somebody being commissioned for a ministry, being prayed over on behalf of the leadership of the ministry. That's not my issue. My issue is with how the Christian subculture has taken this idea of calling or called and turned it into a thing that carries incredible weight and can crush people. And I want to share my own story of that. So in my life, I received my calling. I sensed that God had called me. I discerned a call into ministry back around 2000, so over 25 years ago now. And I left engineering and I went into professional ministry or vocational ministry, first as a ministry intern, then a seminary student, a director of ministry, and then eventually a pastor. I was a pastor for 17 years. And during most of that time, I perceived, because of the culture that I was in, that this was a vocation for life. This was a marker like on my forehead, called into ministry. I'd been ordained. The elders had laid their hands on me. There was all this freight that came with that idea. This was to be my vocation for life because I was called into it. The problem was, at some point, that vocation came to an end for me. This is about 6 or 7 years ago now. I came to the conclusion I could no longer do this as a vocation. I wasn't walking away from the Lord. It wasn't like that at all. I'd done it for 17 years. I got into the end of that runway. I had done what I could do. And for a variety of reasons, I could tell it was time for me to move into a different vocation. And On-Ramp was ready and waiting. I went into that as a vocation, but I sensed this time, this vocation in my life has ended. But the word calling did not give me a grid for thinking that way. If calling is a lifelong thing where you are elected out of all people and made this special thing within the church and ordained to be a pastor, an elder, whatever it is, then how do you walk away from that without feeling like a failure? Without feeling like you were unfaithful to God, unfaithful to your calling? That's really what I struggled with at my heart is, God, am I being unfaithful to my calling? Like the elders set me aside and they prayed over me and they commissioned me, and I was called to be this pastor, and now I don't want to be that anymore. And in fact, I'm at a place where I can't be that anymore. That part of me is used up. I need to move into new things. What do I do with that? And this incredible weight that we place around the word calling or called, it left me really vulnerable emotionally, feeling like a failure. And the interesting thing is I learned that this wasn't just something that I personally was wrestling with. As I announced my departure, a number of people struggled with that. I actually heard from someone who thought, well, surely Blake must have had an affair. He must have committed adultery. That's the only reason a pastor would leave the pastorate, because once you're called into that, that's what you do for the rest of your life. Holy cow, it is so toxic. What other job or career do we have out there where if you leave it, people are sure you must have had an affair, done something horrible and nefarious, because that's the only way out? I think that we create undue pressure upon men and women who have sensed at some point in their life that they're called into ministry. When we bring in that concept of a permanent call, this special election by God, we create an incredible pressure upon them to stay in it even when their time is spent. And the reality is, in every other career out there, it's normal to think that maybe you'll do this career for a while and then move into something different. You might not. You might be an accountant your entire life, and that's great. But it might be that you do something for a while, like accounting, and then you go do something completely different. You open a fly fishing shop, and no one thinks, oh, we must have had an affair. Like that's no, because we recognize that people go through different seasons in life when they need new challenges, or they need to express a different gift or a different ability. They need to learn a new thing. They need to try something different, whatever it is. That's normal in how we think about all other vocations, except this special one that gets stamped with calling or called by God to be a pastor or a priest or a minister, or whatever it is. That's unhealthy. It traps people. It becomes toxic for people and for the community as a whole. And I want to talk for a second about the community as a whole. I think it's also toxic towards the church. When we tell a whole congregation of people, all of whom are gifted by God, all of whom are filled with the Holy Spirit, that, well, these particular men and women, and usually it's like particular men in most churches, these particular men, they have been called by God. They received their calling contrary to all of you. They were specially elected to this special thing that is so incredibly weighty that only they could do it. Like, no, that is absolutely contrary to what the church is about. The church is about a body where all of us bring things that are essential to functioning the church. Paul is really clear about that in the epistles. In fact, I did some research today, kind of remembering this, like, oh, let me go back and remember, what was it that I learned about calling? It's interesting. If you search your calling, just as an English phrase in the ESV, so it's really easy to do, in the New Testament, it's always used about something that is true for all believers and is about salvation. It's never about becoming a pastor. So 1 Corinthians 1, Ephesians 4, 2 Peter 1, it is always for all believers. Any believer has received a calling or your calling or the calling from God. You received it the moment you trusted in Jesus. I think of it more as like an Ephesians 2:10 thing. I love this verse. It says that we've been created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. The point here that Paul is making is all believers, the moment you've trusted in Jesus, God opens your eyes to a pathway of good works that he has called you into. All of us have a unique pathway of good works in our lives. For some, that will involve pastoral ministry, being a priest, being a minister, leading some Christian ministry for all of their life or a portion of their life. But that's no different than the good works that other people are called into. Everybody has their unique pathway of good works. And so I think when we create this concept around this special calling into ministry, we do harm to the people called and to all the other people in the pews, because we create a hierarchy, we create a distinction between them that I do not think is healthy. I think we need to ratchet down our language around this concept of calling or being called into professional ministry. We need to take it way down and create a much easier flow for people to move into vocational ministry and out of vocational ministry as the Lord directs at different seasons and cycles of their lives, so that everyone sees that, hey, we're all on the same playing field here. We all have received a calling from God to do these good works, and it'll look different for different people at different times, and there's no harm or foul from moving to one to the other and back and forth. So that's my 2 cents on it. So that leaves us, okay, well, what word might we use that is more helpful and accurate than called or calling? Because that one, not that there's anything wrong with the word in the Bible, but the way that the Christian subculture has used it, it's become very unhelpful and often toxic. So for me, I picked up a word from my brother. I love that he came up with this. Maybe he got it from somebody else, but it works so well for me. He's like, don't use that word because all the freight. Just use the simple English word assignment, because that's so familiar to us coming out of school. We received assignments every day. All of us did. Every student. There weren't special students who got the assignment no, every student got multiple assignments, and they changed on a daily basis. And that's really what the Lord is doing with us. To each of us, he has assignments, not one particular assignment you have to do for the rest of your life, but assignments that, this assignment might last a day. This one might last 10 years, different assignments at different times for different people. And that word has become great for me. And actually, it is biblical. I looked it up some. I like 1 Corinthians 7:17. Paul says, only let each person lead the life that the Lord has assigned to him and to which God has called him. So you have both words, assigned and called. This is my rule in all the churches. So notice all are called, all are given assignments. This assignment from the Lord, it is unique to you, and it could last your whole life or it could last a portion of your life. You're going to walk through many potential assignments. When I started embracing and using this language, things became much easier for me. My guilt went away for leaving the pastorate. I no longer worried about that because I realized, no, that when I became a pastor, that wasn't me receiving some lifelong calling that I have abandoned by leaving pastoral ministry. That is a false view. No, I received an assignment. And for me, that assignment lasted 17 years. For others, it'll last less. For some, it'll last more. That assignment was replaced at some point by the assignment to lead OnRamp. Not because one is better than the other. That's not my point at all. It's just chronological order. I completed one, and then I got the next assignment, just like you would at school. And in the Lord's good plan and practice, I think a lot of the assignments end up leading to the next one. So I don't think I could have led OnRamp if I hadn't been a pastor. And I don't think I could have led OnRamp if I wasn't an automotive engineer before that. So you see, God is giving us these assignments in life. Some are overlapping, some are sequential, whatever it is. And we're simply called to be faithful in whatever assignments we have for today. And that gives us freedom to not feel like we've been boxed into a cul-de-sac. I have to do this one vocation for the rest of my life or I've failed. No, it's not like that at all. You may move in and out of many vocations as you fulfill the assignments that God has given you in life. It also, again, it helps us all to be on the same playing field. We all have unique assignments, and it is not my right to judge your assignments. Your assignments are between you and God. He gives you your assignments. You walk in those assignments. My assignments are between me and God. So if I move from one thing to another, don't think I had an affair, please. No, it's between God and me. He knows what he has assigned me to do today and tomorrow and the next day. I don't know all of them. I know some of them, but some I won't know until the future. And so life becomes simply walking in the assignments of the Lord day after day. Each of us recognizing that these assignments, God gives them out of his goodness, out of his love. He gives them in alignment with the gifts that he's given us. There's a lot of passages about that, how God has crafted and created you in a unique way with certain skills and abilities and strengths. And he's going to align the assignments that he brings you with how he's created you so that you are uniquely able to do those really well for the benefit of the world. And so I love this kind of language because it helps us all to walk in joy and in peace and in creative flexibility. So for those friends of mine who are in some kind of vocational ministry right now, I feel for you. I hope you feel the freedom that if tomorrow you sense that, man, I really want to do something else, I feel like the Lord is opening a door for me for something completely different, that you will trust that and walk in that and say, you know what, it's time to move on from vocational ministry because it's not somehow sacred compared to other jobs and vocations. That's not a true view of reality. Simply follow whatever assignments God gives you each day. As you do that, he will give you joy and strength to complete his assigned work. So I hope that helps you. I hope it helps you avoid the guilt and the fear and the hierarchy and all that was part of my life earlier on. I hope this will bring you joy. If you have a question that you would like covered on Blake Talks Good, you can email it to blakej@onramptx.org. Again, that's BLAKEJ@ONRAMPTX.org. We'd love to have your questions, whether they're about individually doing good or working at a nonprofit or ministering in a church, wherever you might be. If you want to maximize the good that you do in your community and have a question, please send it to us.